this knows that interval. And so when you practice those intervals, whether you're in A flat or you're in G flat, from a 1 to a 4, this knows I'm going from a 1 to a 4. And that's why it's very important to train this. What's up, everybody? This is the Worshipleader podcast. I'm Terry.
And this is Josh.
And today we have another episode for you guys. Excited about it as always. We will be talking about vocal techniques. Talking about vocal techniques. Things to help you with vocals. Between the two of us, we've both been singing since childhood. So we've learned a few things along the way, and so we want to share that with you guys. One of the I guess I'll get right to it. One of the things that I noticed in most people that sing, well, I'll say it like this. 3 things that will, in my opinion, that will get you the most progress, the fastest, would be, and this is no particular order, would be breathing.
Yeah. That's to me, that's like the most important one, honestly.
Breathing. It would be note approach, the way you approach notes. And the third one is training the muscle that is your voice box or whatever, your larynx or whatever it's called. Mm-hmm. And the thing is, the way I've kind of look at it is this is kind of like a brain. It's crazy. I'll explain. I know it's a brain, but it's kind of like when you sing. It's. I guess we'll take that one first. We'll take the actual voice part of it, the muscle part of it. It's kind of like it has muscle memory. So if you're singing an interval, so if you're singing, I already get a little technical, just a little bit. If you're singing in a scale, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, and you're going from a 1 to a 4, 1, 4, if you're doing that, this learns that. So in whatever key you're in, 1, 4, this knows that interval. And so when you practice those intervals, whether you're in A flat or you're in G flat, from a 1 to a 4, this knows I'm going from a 1 to a 4. And that's why it's very important to train this and I don't do it as much. I don't do it anymore, but I used to do it. I used to work on intervals. So I would work on knowing what a 4 is. That's how I was able to go 1, 4, from 1 to a 4 to 5, 7, 1. I'm rusty now, but I used to know how to do that. Like on demand. I could call it up. And the thing is, it gets used to switching those intervals. And where that's helpful is when you get to going to half steps and you going from, and you're doing all of this, I wouldn't say runs, but just exhorting, and you exhort, and you hear something and you want to do it. Well, if the muscle memory is used to that, no matter what key you're in, you'll be able to do it. So if you hear something in your head and you want to do it, then I think it's important that this muscle knows where it's going. Otherwise, it's a guess. It's a guess. You know what you want to sing, but this doesn't know the difference in the two.
I was making that face earlier was because I really thought I was making. I thought I was just kind of like being goofy whenever I say it, but like sometimes I would feel like, especially like whenever we would sing a song that we hadn't sung in a while, and my voice would automatically just start doing stuff without me even really like remembering it, and I was just like, oh, I guess I just kind of like taught myself apart or something like that. And that was just something I would always like tell myself, like, oh, I just teach myself something, and I didn't realize that it was like
it's like this.
You can train your voice to do stuff.
You can train your voice to know those intervals, and no matter what key you're in, It just knows I'm going from I'll use 1-4 because that's the first thing I did, but it knows I'm going from a 1 to a 4, and it just hops on board no matter what key you're in. So that's kind of the quick of training this. And if you want to get into more technical stuff, like just if you want to be a singer that does a lot of things like runs and all that stuff, it's the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Training this muscle. Once you train it, and the way, keep talking about it, I'm getting kind of choked up. I'm going to get some water. My vocal, don't tell them. But yeah, but the thing you want to do in technical singing is, if you hear something, I slow it down to give this time to know the interval. So la 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 la. Then after a while, this thing begins to engage, because you have what I was doing. I'm getting real technical. I'm sorry. What I was doing now is tongue engagement. La 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 la. But when you get to the throat where you that's a different thing, and that has to learn those intervals. And sometimes, have you ever heard somebody try a run and they just kind of slide down some of the notes, and some of them hit and some of them don't?
Yeah.
It's because that muscle's not used to those intervals, and they have that in their head, but when they go to sing it, it's a roll of the dice, because this is trying to catch up real time. Yeah. So
it's kind of like I guess like when you're going to the gym and you're trying to go lift weights, it's super duper important to, work up to it. Don't just go get the 50-pound weight, because like it's different. It's different.
It's different.
If you don't go to the gym and you just go don't just go picking stuff up. Go work up to that. It's the same way with singing. Like, if you're not used to doing, like there's some stuff that you can like power through and just kind of, like whatever. But like, it is important, like basically what you're talking about is like doing the preparation beforehand, like practicing technique beforehand, because vocal control, like you're talking about a lot of different aspects of vocal control. And if you aren't training yourself to have that vocal control, and then you just try to jump out and do something complicated, you might get it. You might
not. all the saints, oh, baby. Bless him. Amen. Amen. That's all right. That's okay. That's all right, baby.
In the background, because somebody gonna say it.
Almost. So
yeah,
I've heard them before. I've heard all of those.
I've been that one. I've
been there before.
It sounds good in your head, and then you go to, and then it's just like, well, I gotta commit to it now. Like, I didn't did it now.
That's funny. We've all been there. We've definitely all been there. And so I guess I'll take it back just a little bit more about training this. That is, I want to make sure I make the point between like engaging the different parts. So engaging this is you should feel a distinctive jump in your vocal from note to note. So there should be a distinctive, like when you talk, you feel the distinctive jerks. I don't know technical stuff between the words. Well, when you sing notes, you should feel the distinctive you should feel that, and if you're not feeling that, then you need to slow it down until you and you'll speed it up. Let me stop boring. Okay, we'll move on.
Honestly, I like that though, because this makes a huge difference between being a lazy singer and a technical singer. And I know, depending on who you talk to, because some people, like, they're in the camp of just like, oh, well, it doesn't matter, just sing, and the other people, they're like get really hyper focused on it. I used to be the type of person that was just kind of like, oh, it doesn't really matter. But I kind of, what happened was one day I just like heard myself, and I realized that like I really had gotten like super duper lazy on like what I was singing, to the point where it was just like my words were even starting to slur together and I sound like a drunk person trying to sing. It was very bad. And I was just like, wow, that was terrible. So maybe I need to like tighten some of this up a little bit. So like technique, like vocal technique, and talking about all this technical stuff, like it seems like it's very, very nitpicky, and it's just like, oh, well, like this is supposed to be a spiritual ministry. Like this isn't like, why are we focused on this? It's because like they're supposed to like this stuff actually does help in the long run. Like even though it seems like really, really small stuff, the small stuff builds into big stuff.
It does. It does. It absolutely, absolutely does. I guess we'll talk a little bit about which one you want to do next. There was note approach and there was breathing.
We can say breathing for last.
Okay.
Yeah, because that was a lot. Note approach.
So with note approach, it's very important to approach notes like, I guess the rule is approach notes dead on, and the exception would be the slide intos and the slide out ofs, because sometimes you can get fixed on the up to the note, and it kind of, it makes for good solo singing, it makes for good ebbs and flows. But when you're in a group of people that are doing one thing together and everybody's on a ba and you're on a ba, that kind of thing, that's when you begin to sound sloppy. You know, so another thing I used to work on, what I don't practice anymore. I should be, but I don't. Another thing I used to work on is note approach. So I'd pick a note and I'd make sure I hit that note from the start, not sliding into it, sliding down from it or into it. I'd make sure I hit the note dead on. And that's pretty much, it's simple as that. You just pick a note and make sure you're approaching it. And another thing is, it all ties in together. This begins to remember, you know.
And I will also say with that, I'll add two things. Well, I think two things. If you don't do that and you do the whole sliding thing, yes, you will eventually hit it. But what you're gonna communicate to the people that hear you sing is that you're not confident in your note.
That's good. That's good.
And
That's really good.
And I just know that because like whether you're actually confident about it or not, the perception is gonna be, I'm not really sure I can hit this, so I'm gonna start on something that's a little bit easier, and then I'm gonna step it up. You know, so it's just like you gotta face it, hit it head on, that sort of thing. And then also like that fear mentality of, I don't really know if I can hit it. If you think you can't hit it, then you probably won't.
Ooh, preach.
Yeah.
Preach.
That's just something like I'm having to teach myself, because the thing is, I notice on the songs that I'm more afraid of, those are the ones that I have more problems with. But the songs that I don't think about are the one, regardless of technical whatever or any effort that actually is required to sing the song. If I'm scared of the song, I'm going to struggle with it. If I'm not scared of it and I don't have to think about it, then I can just sing the song regardless of how high or how low it is.
Yeah. That's good. That's really good. The mindset of it. I like that you brought that up, because I'm huge on mindset, and I was so down in the details that I didn't even think about that. And that is huge. Mindset is at least half of the battle, if not more.
Because it's just like, and I only say that just because it's like, if you're not really much of a music person, like sometimes you may be able to tell like, okay, something seemed kind of like off today. But like if you're a music person, like if you're a music, you know, like instinctually when we're listening to singing, like we subconsciously listen for stuff like that. And so it's just kind of like, you know, as a singer, just being confident enough in yourself to say, you know what, I'm just gonna go for it, even if I'm wrong. And if I'm wrong, we will roll, and somersault our way out of it. But like
right.
you can't, you just gotta do it. Just do it. You know,
you just gotta do it.
Because a lot of something I've been telling people lately is just the fact of like you can actually sing higher than what you think you can.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of people put their vocal limits a lot lower than what they actually are. Regardless of what part you normally sing, most of the time you can sing a little bit or a bit above that part. You just have to practice those techniques and teach your voice how to do that stuff. Because if you don't teach yourself how to do it, and you don't stretch those muscles and work all that stuff and do your techniques and whatnot. And I was about to say warm-ups, but I don't do warm-ups like I'm supposed to, so I'm not going to be a hypocrite. Literally, I just be showing up and singing. I'm just like, man, I need to start doing this. But like, if you're doing what you're supposed to do and you take care of your voice, you would be very, very surprised at what you're actually capable of doing. Yeah. It's just putting in the work and being willing to push the envelope a little bit.
Yeah, that's good. That's good stuff. And I guess we'll move on to breathing. That is a huge, like.
Oh my gosh.
Breathing is is the foundation for all of this.
Literally.
Like if you are the best singer in the world, but your breathing is off, you will fall flat every time.
Every single time.
You will fall flat. Anytime you try to go out of a mid-range, if you try to sing low and your breathing's gone, it's shot. It's shoddy, it's flat. If you try to go high and you're not breathing, you're not even like, breathing is the foundation for it all. Mm-hmm. So I think one of the things that I've learned over time is, and breathing and like singing from the diaphragm and all that's kind of hand in hand. Mm-hmm. Is that most of the time when I'm singing, I try to sing with a rounded voice and with a lot of support from down here. Sometimes it's easier to take your vocal cords and to squeeze them to get those high notes and not really sing from here, just to sing it from here up and just kind of it out. And you run the risk of it sounding thin when you do that. You run the risk of it. So one of the things I do, along with breathing, like I said, breathing is the support, is let's just say I'm singing a high note and I want it to sound round and full. I make my throat feel like I'm yawning. So the back of my throat feels like it's yawning, and I'm pushing from here, like I'm saying, like my kids in the street and I see a car coming. So I'm rounded throat and pushing from here, and that helps those notes come out and sound round and sound full, and it also helps to save this, because I know you said you went through a point where you got tired.
Yeah, and I do, and that's why, because we had talked about subjects that we were going to talk about today, and I was telling him, like, I'm actually glad that he brought that up, because, like, I've been struggling with my voice getting tired very, very quickly, and that most of the time when something like that happens, that just lets me know, okay, I'm doing something wrong somewhere, like I'm wearing my voice out somehow.
Now, when you say your voice, you mean like your muscles and stuff are aching?
Yeah, like I can kind of feel it here, and like and sometimes it's just because like I'm not taking care of my body, which that's another thing. If you don't take care of your body, your voice box is a part of your body. So yes.
Exactly.
Learn that the hard way. So like if I'm like, sometimes I'll have like a super long practice or something like that, or like I'll overdo it in practice and I'll give it all, quote unquote, give it all away in the practice, and then come to service, you know, and all of a sudden it's like I'm trying to sing, my voice is just like, dude, we just did this. Like, what you doing?
Take 5. Your voice like, I'm gonna take 5.
Literally, it was like, I don't know what you thought I was finna do.
Keep singing without me.
Literally. And so it's just like I'm having to like relearn how not to just be, and it's like lazy singing, but like on a mental level, I
Yeah.
guess. But it's just like what I'm doing is like I'm doing too much, and my voice is getting so like my like the muscle here is like getting so worn out,
Yeah.
and I can feel it. And normally I can feel it in the sense of just like when I start like when it gets too tired. I can kind of almost hit the note, but it's a little flat. And the more tired it gets, the more flat it gets.
Yeah, and that's very common for everybody. Like, and I think there's two different things with that. Like, one is identifying if it's a tired thing because you've been squeezing too much and not using the diaphragm. And another kind of tired you can get is where, like the song. That Manifesto song, Amen.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
That song, now that song tends to really wear your voice out.
Vocal cord killer.
Like you can,
Exactly.
exactly. You can sing that song very correctly, and it still wears on your vocal cord just because it has to be engaged so much. Mm-hmm. So if it's one of those things where you're singing properly and you're engaging, you're doing a curl and you've just done it 25 times and you're tired. You need a break. But if it's because of wrong technique and you're not using this, then you need to use right technique. And one you can do something about, the other one you can't really. You just got to power through it, take breaks or whatever.
Hopefully you're singing on a team and y'all can just determine who's going to take a breath and where.
Right. So if your breathing's right, you're rounded back, you're not squeezing your vocal cords and putting stress on them, and you're still feeling some vocal strain, then it may be just because you're singing a lot, you're doing it correct. But I can do, like I said, I could do a curl correct. But if I do it 30 times, then eventually my arm's going to give out. So if you're doing everything correct, eventually the voice just gets tired. Mm-hmm. But if you don't feel the breath coming, if you don't feel like you're screaming at your child or at your sibling or at that important person that a car is coming at, and you don't feel like you're yawning in the back of your throat when you're hitting these notes, then you may be squeezing down and causing some extra stress on your voice, which will make it tire out. So that I think that's kind of how you diagnose, am I doing this correctly and am I not? And if you're not doing it correctly, just fix those things, fix this, and you'll be able to sing a lot longer without this getting tired.
That makes sense. Yeah, that's been my problem. It's probably a little bit of both, to be honest, because like sometimes you'll be like in the moment and you just kind of forget, and like all of a sudden it'll go from here to here, just that fast.
Oh yeah. And the thing is, it's easy. It's easier to sing from here. Yeah. And I find myself doing it all the time, especially with high notes. I find myself just squeezing here and getting that high note. But
you be getting
over time, over time, it just
he be hitting it. And I just be looking like, how did he hit that?
Over time. Well, when some of them get so high, I mean, when I get out of range where I'm just in alto territory, where they're getting like regular alto and not low alto, then sometimes that's the only way it's coming out. I just got to squeeze this for a couple of notes and then get back to the real singing. But it's tough. It's tough, and you got to work on that breathing. Like, breathing is the base, and you should feel it coming from here. If you don't, it'll be flat. It will be flat a lot of the times. You got to have that breath support. Yeah.
And I will say it also depends on what type of song you're singing.
That's good.
Because like we sing, like at our church we sing a lot of CCM, so there's a lot of like, it's a lot of slow ebb and flow type of thing, and it's a lot easier to do the breathing technique. But if you're doing a lot more like gospel songs, like for example, Joy's Coming, that is a very, very difficult song to sing if you don't have good breathing technique. You will probably pass out if you don't do it correctly. This one of those things, because it's just like, it's very like there's a lot of like staccato singing. There's not a whole lot of space to take long breaths. You just have to take a lot of survival breaths. I will lovingly call them. And you got to know how to like be a really good what is it? You have to be a really good steward of your air supply
Yeah.
on that song. And there's a lot of songs like that where it's because of the rhythm. There are some places it sounds like it's a good place to take a breath, but if you take a breath there, you just knock the whole rhythm off. So
Exactly.
you just can't.
Yeah.
And so it's really important to also be mindful of like, okay, what type of song am I singing? Am I going to move while I'm singing? Because the thing is, it's like, it's one thing while you're in practice and while you're standing still doing your I'm in practice pose, singing the song, but then like you're in service and you're feeling it and now you're jumping around and stuff and you're killing your air supply because now the rest of your body needs that oxygen you were saving for your voice. Like, so like you got to keep that in mind of just like, while I'm singing, am I going to be moving during the song? Or is this more of like a slower song where I'd have more, like you just got to be really strategic with your air intake.
You really do, especially like you said, especially for the songs, the upbeat songs where you're gonna be jumping and using that air supply, and you're just like, wait, I thought this song was easier than this. It's because you're tired and you've been jumping it. You got it. Yeah, you gotta manage it. You have to manage it, and I think that was a good explanation on how.
Especially because it's like on that one, it's like it starts out fine, and all of a sudden it's like, yeah, like Kendra, it's just like everybody's flipping like 3,000 times, and you're just like, well, this is it. This is how I go.
Whether I want it or not, I'm here now. Hey.
So yeah.
Oh yeah, that's good stuff. You got anything else?
No, I think that was it.
Yeah, I think we about covered it. And like we always say, if there's anything that we missed, let us know. We will. If there's enough technical stuff or psychological stuff, whatever, to tackle to do a part 2, then we'll do a part 2. I really enjoyed this. I thought it was good. So we may just have to do a second one on some more technique stuff, even if y'all don't say anything about it. I'm losing my voice now, my oxygen supply.
I know. I'm trying to like, I don't know what's happened to me today. I used to be able to talk a lot more than I do now. I don't know if I'm getting old or what. I don't know what's happening.
We're getting old, y'all. We're getting old. Well, we're going to wrap this up like we always say. If you enjoyed this, like it, share it. We can get it to other people. We try to provide some valuable information that will help you and help the community of believers and worship leaders. So if you want to stay connected, we'll be on Facebook, we'll be on YouTube, we'll have some clips on Instagram, but it's not really good for long form content. So we'll be on YouTube and on Facebook. Check us out. We'll see you on the next one. Peace.